Hey guys, this is Canadian bringing you a Zarya guide talking about her basics, her mechanics, and the tricks that I use with her. Let's start with the basics. Zarya is a pretty unique hero in Overwatch. She doesn't have any damaging abilities. Her passive is Charge, which when her barriers take damage, she gets a % increase in her DPS. All her barriers have 200 HP. Her personal barrier has a 10-second cooldown, and her projected barrier has an 8-second cooldown. So, what's the goal with playing Zarya? What you want to do is get Charge, save your teammates, destroy the enemy with your attacks, as well as use your ult to make game-changing plays throughout the course of a match. So how should you be using Zarya's barriers? When I play Zarya, my shield priority is first the healers, then my tanks, then my DPS. Of course, if someone's in immediate danger, shield them first, but if there's multiple people in danger, start by saving your healers. Let's talk about Zarya's left click versus her right click. Her left click is a beam attack that can only damage one person, whoever you're currently shooting, and her right click is an AoE grenade that you can launch over a distance to do splash damage. Left click is best used in 1v1 situations or when you're fighting large targets such as other tanks. The right click is best used when you're fighting groups of enemies or small targets that are hard to track with your left click. You can right click the ground or the wall or anything near them to do splash damage to them. A very useful combination of attacks is to right click a target and knock them up so they can't run on the ground, and then track them through the air with your left click. This combo is extremely deadly because they can't really escape if you have good tracking with your beam. Let's look at an example of left click versus right click. So here I am fighting a Zarya and a soldier. Another great use of the right click is to finish off enemies like I did right there. The soldier runs away and I right click the ground and he gets tossed into the air, making him an easy target for my left click, and I win the 2v1. Let's move on to Zarya's mechanics, tricks, and techniques. So Zarya can stop CC, for example like Flashbang. Without the shield I get stunned, but with the shield I don't. This applies to a lot of different CC in the game, and I'm going to go through a lot of them. So Pharah's Concussion Blast knocks you back, but with shield it doesn't. Same applies with Mei's Freeze, either her left click or her Blizzard. Here I get frozen in the 2.5 seconds it takes to freeze me, but if you use your shield midway, it actually resets the freeze cooldown and will now take Mei another 2.5 seconds to freeze me. Same thing works with Roadhog's hook. When you don't have a shield, you get hooked, and when you do have a shield, you block the hook, avoiding both the damage and the pull. You can use that knowledge to bait out Roadhog's hook so he doesn't hook your teammates. So just like Pharah's Concussive Blast, Lucio is able to boop you when your shield is down, but he cannot boop you off a ledge when your shield is up. Also with Zenyatta's Discord Orb, you can remove the orb from the target, whether it be you or an ally, using your barrier, so he doesn't get the extra damage. Zarya's barriers have 200 HP, however, they block any excess damage that exceeds the current barrier's health. So in this example, Tracer kills me with her 400 damage Pulse Bomb, but in the next clip with my 200 HP barrier, I am able to block all 400 damage from her Pulse Bomb. This applies to any damage that exceeds the barrier's health. Barriers also block line of sight, so I get Earth Shattered here by Reinhardt. In the next example, he Earth Shatters me with my barrier up. If anyone was behind me, they would not be affected by Earth Shatter. Defense Matrix and Reflect are two abilities you want to watch out for when trying to use your ultimate. If you aim your ultimate directly at your feet, it has no opportunity to be absorbed or reflected by those abilities since it doesn't travel through the air. Lastly, you can use your personal shield to protect allies in danger by stepping in front of them before they take damage as shown in this clip. Now let's talk about the leapfrogging technique. So this technique, and I learned this from a streamer named Lassus, is called leapfrogging. So what you do is, as Zarya, you step in front of the shield like I do here, and then you use your barrier. And so Reinhardt's barrier was taking damage, so it's a safe bet that your own barrier is going to take a bunch of damage. So I use this barrier, boom, 40 charge. I know the barrier is probably gone, so then you step back, you retreat, and you shield your Rein. And what your Ryan's supposed to do in that second is to drop his shield, and you know, if there's closer you need to swing a bit, but the main thing is he drops his shield, and I get another 40 charge off of him, and now his shield basically got a quote bonus 400 health because they damaged my barrier, which is 200 HP, when they weren't damaging his shield, and then when I shielded him, he dropped his shield, I get another 40 energy, and his shield saves another 200 HP. So overall, that technique really helps your team win shield battles if you and your Reinhardt are communicating. Now let's put some of these tips and tricks into action. In this first clip, I used my personal shield to save McCree from the D.Va bomb. My projected barrier was on cooldown, but with stepping in front of the bomb, I was able to save that McCree. In this next clip, their defense matrix has a 1 second cooldown between turning it on and off. I see right there that D.Va used her defense matrix, so now I have a small window to use my ult, and I'm able to grab their whole team in my Graviton. Another good way to use your ultimate is to pull enemies away from an objective or to stop them from contesting it, like shown in this clip. Their whole team gets grabbed and none of them are able to touch the point and the round ends. Next, let's showcase shooting my ultimate at my feet to avoid it being absorbed by a D.Va. As you can see, their D.Va was expecting it, but since I shot it right at the ground, she's unable to absorb it and we get the team wipe in overtime. Lastly, Graviton does work through walls, so you can get sneaky ults like this on Temple of Anubis to catch their team by surprise. As Zarya, you should be using your personal shield to generate charge and your projected shield to save teammates like 90% of the time. There are a few circumstances where you can use your projected barrier to generate charge, like in the leapfrogging example, but most of the time you want to use it to save your teammates when they're in immediate danger. Also, don't be afraid to use your personal shield to save your teammates. As we showcased, you can use it to stop obvious combos or abilities, such as someone getting pinned by Reinhardt. Mei Freeze combo, you can step in front of the person with your self shield that got frozen and block the icicle. You can do the same thing with Flashbang. As a showcase, you can stop someone dying from D.Va bomb, you can block an Earth Shatter for your team. There's a lot of possibilities with your self shield besides just using it to save yourself. Also, your right click is great at finishing off enemies to do a bunch of burst damage if you have a good amount of charge. Don't underestimate how much damage that AoE grenade does. Zarya belongs in double tank compositions. She should never be the solo tank. You need the second tank to be on the front line creating space and as a target for your barriers. Whether it be a Reinhardt that charges in, a Roadhog playing forward to get a hook, or a D.Va diving their backline, those are all great targets for your projected barrier that create a lot of space for your team. Zarya is meant to be played as an aggressive tank. When you're low energy, you need to play risky and get charged with your barrier, and then when you're high energy, you need to play on the front line and melt their front line or their back line or whoever is in range. When you have high charge, her left click is one of the highest damaging weapons in the game. Do not underestimate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this Zarya guide. Please leave your feedback below and thanks for checking it out.